Welcome to another episode of Hat Collecting, the Multi-Passionate Experience. I am here today with my esteemed guest, Monica Kapil, who is a marketing strategist. I'm your host, Lacey. I'm the multi-passionate, the definite multi-passionate of this pair. And we're going to talk marketing and strategy and probably other stuff today as well. um, I okay. I let's have you take a quick moment to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into what you do right now.
So my plan in life was to become a writer, and I was going to teach grade 5 by day, and then at night I was going to write, and then eventually become this really famous author. And that dream got stabbed in the heart when I went to university. My parents were like, "You need to get a job. You can't be writing." And I ended up in economics, and somehow I just fell into marketing. It wasn't like I was planning. I was just reading different job posts, and every time I read the marketing ones, it was like, "Ooh, this is interesting. Oh, I want to do that." Right. And so I kind of by accident created a marketing career in financial services, and back in 2019, everything kind of got a bit derailed, and I had to rethink if I wanted to be in financial services. And in 2023, I decided to open my own marketing agency and Nori Marketing, and that's where we are today. So it's not been like a very smooth transition into marketing, but I think what that connecting line for me has always been is that marketing is really an extension of what I love, which is storytelling. And so that's what I feel like has always been the connecting line. When I do anything in marketing, I'm really just telling a really great story.
That's interesting to hear for me, because I also really appreciate storytelling, and there's obviously many different ways to tell the same story. And it's funny because one of the things, literally, I think I've said this to you before, marketing has never been a strong suit of mine, but I do think I'm a good storyteller. And I think that the sort of disconnect there maybe just is in this kind of gets into a conversation, a question that I was going to save for a bit later, but maybe we'll jump into it now. Um, I've been talking with I have a roommate, and we talk about different things. And I was kind of frustrated one day because, again, my whole life, we've talked about this, I've always been told, you can't be doing all of these things, Lacey. You have to niche down and focus and pick one thing. And that's never worked for me. And I've been frustrated by this idea of well, if I say that I do these 5 things and then people are they can't process that. I'm like, how can you not just are one of these 5 things what you're looking for? And then my roommate was so gracious to tell me, ADHD brains can process a ridiculous amount of information compared to neurotypical brains. And so he speculated that the people that I guess a lot of typical marketing is for, neurotypical brains, or the average brain, can only kind of handle sort of like the rule of 3, maybe 3 things at a time. And then if you keep adding to it, then it knocks things out of the memory bank. And so
Yeah.
I've had to me, marketing is oh, how do I take this really lush, detailed, vibrant story and cram it down into one sentence? And I hate that, but that seems to be what you have to do.
I always say, I always look at my audience, and I look at humans, in general, all day, everyday people, right? And they're always rushing to get things done so they can, do the things they really want to do, right? And so when they're out there potentially looking at your service or your product, they want to know what it's about as quickly as possible and understand it so that they can get on with their day. It's not but when it's your business, and I will say this as well, trying to come up with your marketing, it's literally in your blind spot. And I didn't know that until I had to do my own marketing. So that's probably something that people think, oh, I'm bad at marketing. It's not. I am in marketing. I've been in marketing. And when I opened Nori, the first thing I told my business advisor is that I'm not sure about my marketing. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, because I'm finally the person running the business, right? When you're so close to your product or service and the thing that you love, your marketing is connected to your audience, right? It's the story they need to hear about you. So it's really hard for you to tell that story. And that's why it's really nice to have that middle person, the marketer, who understands your audience, but then also knows what you need and want, and then bring that story together. And that's what I feel it is what happens. So marketing is a struggle for any business owner. And that's natural, I think.
That I'm glad that you said that, because that ties right into something else I was thinking about earlier. Like I've been reflecting on this a lot, because this whole like concept of marketing has kind of frustrated me, because I've been like, why can I just not do this? Like I've gotten a lot better at it, but I still feel like where I start, what feels most natural to me is
Yeah.
like 10 steps away from what it ultimately needs to be at the end. And I've thought to myself, like, because I reflect back on I did a podcast years ago where I was producing and I was co-hosting. And so I was I was handling a lot of like, I literally went to this person. I was like, you're really funny, and I think you should have a podcast. He's like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, I will produce it for you. People just need to hear you because you're really funny. And I was like, I
Yeah.
saw in him what he didn't see in himself. And I was like, you need a
Yeah.
platform. And I know that there's lots of, dynamic duos over the course of history where there's been like, I was thinking about the movie about BlackBerry, the movie that they made, the dramatization of the story of the company BlackBerry, and how there was like the two co-CEOs, and one of them is this really like bombastic, dynamic, high energy guy, and the other guy was like the numbers and the like structure and that, and you have like and I think that if you can get two people like that, I guess I kind of feel like I've become more of the like bombastic, high energy person, and I have to be my own structure and coordination person, and I'm not handling both of those things as well. So what you were just saying about me, like this is why, like, part of why I hired an agent, and part of why I've been like getting some marketing help, because I know how to deliver the message that I do, but connecting it to the people that need to see it, I'm still struggling with a little bit.
And I think where you're at in your journey too, for you to join, like we have the marketing pod, it's perfect because you don't really need like consulting strategist one-on-one sessions very often. Like what you need is just somebody to kind of tweak your message enough to get some results so that you can continue to tweak and get to where you want to go. And that's part of the process. Like you're not going to hit it out of the ballpark day one. Like a lot of the groups companies that I've worked for where we've gotten really great results, it's because they had like 5 years worth of like data, because like they've been trying things for a really long time. Or 10 years is amazing. When I get to, I just got goosebumps. 10 years gives me excitement because there's so much information. They've done so many things. There's just like really great, people to talk to about different experiences that they've had with the business. And then you can really nail down a message. You're like, oh, this is telling me a story and I know exactly what to say. But when you're in the early stages and you've got like different things that you're doing, it's going to take time. And like that process is almost like, it's like, it's like you're transforming almost every 3 to 6 months who you are, because you're getting clearer and clearer to who you actually want to be. In the process, you're getting clear about who you are, and you're getting clear about who you want to connect with. So that's really normal. And like I said, first 3 to 5 years, honestly, is just getting constantly evolved and clear to who you want to talk to and who you want to become.
Sorry, I'm going to keep saying it's interesting you say that. It's just going to keep happening. Monica and I have talked. Monica and I have talked behind the scenes a little bit leading up to this. So there's been a little bit of, and you just mentioned the marketing pod. That was through Corliss, which is how we met. And I've been, because I'm just jumping back into this after a bit of a hiatus, an unexpected hiatus. I'm a little bit off my game, but so I haven't set as much of the stage between us. We met through Corliss, which is a women and non-binary entrepreneur community, which has been wonderful for me. I've been a member for almost a year now, and what you were just saying, and it reminded me of something, and now my ADHD might have taken that. Oh yes, that's what it was. Because you were saying like when every 6 months or whatever, like you're kind of refining and tweaking, and
Yeah.
that made me think of how through the majority of my adult life, like if I've had a website, it's like every month or two, it's like I'm rewriting the copy of my website, because I'm like, well, now I do this, well, now I'm doing this, well, now I'm doing this. And now that I've got this agent and we've worked together to refine my message, and like now I've got these signature talks that I've honed in on. But that also reminded me how and I told you this, I think it was last week, I published a blog post which was called Just for the Heck of It. And that was directly inspired by a conversation I had with you. And I wanted to know if you had any like follow-up thoughts, because you didn't really get to I got to say my side of it, but you didn't get to say your side.
No, I think, it was your experience, or it was our conversation, that you talked about, and it was exactly our conversation. I just didn't remember that I was actually saying what for the heck of it all that often. Like, I didn't remember that part. I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that, like, literally probably 10 times to you. I'm like, tell me what you do for the heck of it. But yeah, it was great. Like, I loved how you got closer to your version of what it is that you do because you just love it, right? And I think a lot of people, we forget sometimes to do the things that we just love for the sake of, because we just love doing it. Like, so it was a great reminder, I think, for most people, and we all need that when we're all kind of so busy doing business, and I mean, getting caught up more often than not in doing more than we should. So I think it was a great blog. Yeah.
Thank you. I should take a quick moment here to do a little. So, Monica, as you mentioned, you're Nori Marketing. That's norimarketing.com and at Nori Marketing on social media. As you might guess, my website is laceyartemis.com, at Lacey Artemis on social media. And yeah, so speaking of what you're saying, like, we all have to kind of do the things that I think I forget what word you said, but oops, hold on, that's not the one I wanted. I'm still getting used to the like overlay stuff here. So I recently started this yet another brand, but this has become like the brand that is stuck, and I've called it Your Shine Language. And it's kind of like loosely a coaching sort of thing, where I've gone through this process to find my shine language, which is just doing what lights me up. I went from being this awkward, poor communicator. I'm still a little bit awkward and clumsy sometimes, but a lot more high energy, and some people might say more charismatic. But so I started Your Shine Language. It's also a newsletter and a community, and that is, if you go to that bit.ly, bit.ly/shine language, you can sign up for that. And I'm just going to really quickly do another quick little plug here. In a couple of weeks, because we're getting down to the wire, a couple of weeks, I am helping organize, and I will be doing event support for Leader Bloom, a team building workshop for young professionals, which is happening July 15th at CSI Spadina. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and that link will be in the description of this video on YouTube. With that all out of the way, we can get back into it. Yeah, so what did I see here? Well, we kind of covered the core questions or core things that I was going to talk about. How long have you been a member of Corliss for? I don't know if we've talked about that.
You said a year. I'm pretty much like a year and 4 months or something like that. Like, okay. Very close. I think we probably joined really, really close. So yeah, it's pretty recent for me as well. Yeah.
Okay. The thing that I really loved about Corliss, because like I first joined it and I was in the process of this like significant career change, and so kind of coming into new realms, brand new, and I came in as this, like, no one's heard of me, nobody knows who I am, where I've come from, like I'm just this unknown quantity. But I came in and I said, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I need help with, and people instantly stepped up and just, how can I help you? Who do you need to talk to? And like, I have not experienced that before, and I was just blown away. I'm like, I haven't done anything for you, and you're practically bending over backwards to help this complete newcomer. And yes. It's just like, wow. And so I've told people this about Corliss. It's just an amazing community, and I have been very humbled by that, and I try to pay that forward whenever I can.
Corliss, like, I was stumbling to find a place like Corliss, or actually, I didn't even think about Corliss. I was just looking for networking where it wasn't feeling transactional, because I would go to these events and people would just be like very like salesy, or just trying to do their spiel, and then when they realized that you potentially weren't a client or somebody they could work with, they just like left, right, and wanted nothing to do with you. And I was like, that's not how I want to do business, right? And then I thought, okay, who do I really want to help? And then I thought, okay, I'm really looking to help transform and work with organizations who are making an environmental or social impact. And that's how I kind of found Corliss through all my Google searches. And then I dropped into a few of their sessions, and I had the exact same experience as you. I felt more seen in the small moments when I joined Corliss, or even before I joined Corliss, and in a way that I'd never felt seen before. And at a time when I was really in, like you said, in a place where I wasn't really a thing yet. I'm just like, I have a business idea. I'm, creating this, and I'm still figuring it out. And they were just like, yeah, exactly like you. Like, what are we doing? How can we help? Here's some places you can check out, or people you can talk to. We've got a bunch of events. Do you want to come? Like, it was just, and it's so open. And I think it's because of that foundational belief that Vicky has of like radical, everything's built on this belief of radical generosity. And I think that changes, what this community is just by that one belief. Like, we are radically generous. People just show up consistently. Like, I was at one of the events at Vicky's house, and near the end of the event, everybody's kind of heading off, and it was a couple of people left. And I said, "Oh, where's Vicky?" And they're like, "Oh, she's headed up. She's like, tired. We're all just cleaning up." Like, people just take care of things. Like, it's just, everyone feels like family and close friends, even if you've never met them before. And it's like, it's magical. It's a little bit way more magical than I'd ever expected. And I love that they're constantly trying to create a better world, and they're always trying to bring people together who want to do that. And I'm just like, yeah, it's a very unique space and a great place to connect with people and make real, like, deep connections.
Yeah, what you said kind of at the beginning there of being seen right away, like one of the things that was the first group, because I've joined lots of other, Facebook groups or other groups, and like it has often kind of just devolved into like everyone's just trying to sell to each other, and like that falls apart really quickly because that's not a community. You can call it a community, but that's not a community.
Yeah,
And Corliss actually
exactly.
was a community. And yeah, like that idea, Vicky Saunders, on a recent call, she was reviewing kind of like the last like, 10 years or something. Of course, has been around for a while, and I'm surprised I'd never heard of it before. And talking about how, like, because they also they do, what is it, venture. So people can like submit their venture and potentially get funding, and they don't treat, like, they give loans, and they don't treat that loan like a bank does. They treat it like, this is,
Yes.
we're investing into you, and like we want to see you succeed.
It's
And it's just,
it's
it's
like
like
family.
unheard
It's
of.
like yeah. I was on that call too, by the way, because I did, like, I knew they were CEO before, and I think I might have heard of them a little bit, but I didn't know anything about them. And then when they became Corliss, I really didn't know anything. But I was on that call where they were going over like how they distribute funds to the ventures that get voted as where we want to put the money towards, right? And I was shocked at the exact same thing, that I really thought in my mind that they were doing it very much like an accountant. Like, okay, you owe this much money. We gave you this much of a loan, and this is how much, like, and they're just like, no, we waited 2 years because this organization just needed time. And even though their accountants were like, you need to write this off. And they were like, I feel like we had the same aha moment at that time of that call, because it's unheard of, that level of trust, belief, and care can happen in a business setting between partners like that, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what blew me away as well, because you don't see that anywhere. You don't see that anywhere. And it's so, yeah. I even actually told Amrita, who is part of Corliss, who, and I told her, like, you need to write a blog about this, or like a newsletter, just talking about how much care you put into the ventures that you support and how you do it, because most people don't realize that that's how much care goes into it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's really beautiful.
If all venture capital was like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a couple more
yeah.
things that I want to talk with you about, and I think I won't forget the second one. So I guess we could start with the first one, because I want to make sure we actually talk about marketing a sufficient amount, as much as I love talking about like community and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I, So we had this other funny thing, and I don't think it's going to come into play, but like when I submitted to you some potential questions that I might ask you, like, what if we do this little game where like
Yes.
I can, Uno reverse on you and put the question back to you. Like, I don't think that's going to come into play, but I thought it was a cute idea. I was like, that would be fun. So that might be something I incorporate into future episodes. But um,
Okay.
so we were talking about how you were saying how you have to kind of take this story, this message of what you do, and you have to communicate it to the right audience in like kind of the simplest way. And what would you say maybe are like two or three of the most common like hangups or pitfalls or missteps that people make in trying to do that? Or even just like
I
one
think
or
you
two,
said
like,
something really important.
okay.
Yeah, I think you said the most important thing is to keep it simple,
Hmm.
because people want to get what you're doing really quickly because it goes deep, right? Like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, a lot of people will just not put the effort in to figure it out, and that's when you lose people. So you just want to keep it as simple as possible, just so they come in enough to want to invest more time. And that's the thing. So you might say, oh, I have these 5 things, but what's the thing that will maybe trigger them to want to learn about the other 4? Right. So it's not saying I don't do all the things, but it's the simplicity of like giving them something to anchor into who Lacey is, and to be like, oh, cool. Now I want to go read a little more. Now I want to invest a little more time. And so that's where simplicity is really, really important, because that message needs to hit, it needs to hit the heart, and then they'll want to invest time. So that's definitely number one. Number two, everybody does this. They just want to talk about their product or service. Most people don't care. They care about themselves, and they care about what's going on with themselves. And can I give an example of this, by the way?
Sure.
Okay. So I was working for a very fancy hedge fund. And for 10 years, they had been doing events across Canada every year annually. And they were like hitting, great numbers. Like they're just like, you do the next round, we're going across Canada. Can you just decide what the theme is going to be? I went into research mode because you know me, I love research. I love like learning everything. So I literally went through every single event, the invite, who came, what happened, who was speaking, like all the good stuff. And what I realized is that they were just talking about um, their product, their new fancy product. Like this is what the whole spiel was about. Everybody come out to see the new shiny fancy thing. And I'm like, well, what's your audience thinking? So then I flipped it over. I went and looked at, well, if these are people who are investing in financial products, the market will probably tell us how they're doing and how they're feeling. And the markets were really volatile. We're talking today up 20, next day down 10. Like it was a roller coaster ride, right? And so it's like, do I want to send out an invite that says, hey, check out our fancy new product? Or do I want to say, come to our event so that we can talk about the volatility in the markets and help you through this time? And then we can talk about a little bit about our new product. We went ahead with that new idea of not putting product first, but the audience's concerns first. We literally had so many people that in Toronto alone, we had to book 2 rooms because we did not have enough space for the amount of people that came out to that event. But the thing is, if that at that event, if they're able to really make people feel good and feel like they're going to get through this roller coaster ride in a way that they won't be hurt as much as maybe other people, they're going to invest in the product as a result of feeling like they're being cared for and looked after. And so that's really how marketing works. It's not really about selling. It's like, how do I become of service to the people that I care about? And so yeah,
Again,
those 2 things I think are
yeah,
probably those are the
you
2
brought up
things. Keep it so simple. Yeah.
uh, you brought up another thing. You reminded me there. So there's a little bit of a delay here, so that's why it's a little bit awkward sometimes.
Okay.
You mentioned and this came up recently that somebody else, I forget who it was. It might have even been you because I talked to a lot of people. But that idea of like the pain points came up, and somebody and I was told like there's 3 most common pain points. There's like health, wealth, and love. I think it was. This might be the 3, but definitely health and wealth were 2 of them. And so I was sort of told like take what you do and put it in context of one of those things, and like pick a specific thing. And like, coaches, like they're trying to like help you with, I guess, really all three of those, but like more like, I guess, wealth and love. You're trying to get to a happier life. You're trying to improve your income and such. But and that's, I've heard of the pain points thing before, but it's a little bit harder for me to think in that context. But I'm trying to, because I think that does help. Like for me, I guess maybe it's my autism that's speaking here, but a lot of times I struggle with things, and I was going to ask you another question that I just remembered. I struggle with things, and then somebody will put it in a different context that I just could not come to on my own, and I'm like, okay, that helps. And the pain point, or the pain points thing is one of those things. But the thing I was going to ask you earlier, and we can actually, before I jump to that, I should give you a chance to, to respond if you want on the pain points idea. Do you have anything you'd like to elaborate on there?
If you're struggling with potentially what audience to talk to or their pain points, I would suggest brainstorming with AI. It's like ChatGPT. Just try it, because it's just, at least it gets the energy moving, and then you can start doing some more research and talking to those individuals and going, oh, maybe that is something to try. Because I feel like when you're not sure, and your services could apply to anybody in the entire world potentially, it's really overwhelming to think about, well, where do I start, like, or who should I think about as like the person I'm trying to talk to, right? So I just like, that's just a really easy way to get the ball rolling in a direction. And then you've got like people like me, you can, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, who can kind of give you the little tweaks so you can get to where you're trying to go. But those and that little experiment will give you something back in return, and be like, oh, I got this sort of feedback. Oh, somebody told me this. Oh, then I realized I should probably do this. Now I got this other like idea, right? So it's just like getting the ball rolling. But I always say, when you're talking to everyone, you end up talking to no one. And that's unfortunate. A lot of people want to do that. And I understand. Like when I started Nori Marketing, I straight up was doing the exact same thing. I was like, I don't know who I'm talking to yet, because I wasn't sure. Right. So I was making things very generically, but I had to take time to get to where I am. And it took me probably close to, I would say, over a year to get really clear. Yeah.
Mm.
So
the question, the question I was going to ask you earlier, and I think this will kind of also ties back into that a little bit, because I know we've kind of had some conversations, and I've kind of, I'll say, butted heads with other people, because like I have, and I think you kind of might have said this or alluded to it earlier, like an emotional reaction where if someone's trying to tell you to like simplify or to dumb down like your message or what you're doing, like, and I know I can get defensive, because my whole life I've basically been told like to and I was a lot hard, like I'm better at accepting it now, but there's always kind of that initial knee-jerk reaction of like, don't tell me what I can't do. And so if you started working with a new client and you're like, they have this great product or this great service, and like I know that they are gonna revolutionize the world, they just need to get it out, the right message out there, and they're kind of reacting to you emotionally, and they're like, well, I don't want to say it that way, or I don't like this or whatever, like how would you how would you massage that, or at what point would you kind of, okay, you're being too emotional, I can't work with you?
Well, I had actually, to go back to the experience that I was talking to earlier about working with the hedge fund, like there was so much pushback that there was an actual meeting with pretty major people at the table to discuss me just putting a sentence into the invitation, because they were a really, like they made a lot of money, right? So they're very important people. And so for them, it was like, we've done this for 10 years. It works. Why are you messing with our recipe, right? And who are you, of all people, to come in? And I literally had to sit there and say, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, I will leave the job. Like, I am that confident that this is going to be what needs to happen. And that's just it. When you ask people to change, and the one thing to answer that question, if somebody is not ready, I don't push it. I leave it as a suggestion, because if you're not ready to do that, like you're the business owner. Like, I'm just here to provide the best advice I can. And I've had that happen before, where I've kind of given a spiel to somebody and I felt the pullback, and I was like, they're just not ready. I'm giving you what I have, and you can do what you need to do, right? And I think that's just another part of it, is like the people who do best with having somebody come in to do their marketing are people who are ready to let go a bit. Like, because there's a trust part in there, that this person's gonna get, like, take me to a place and I'm going to be okay. And if you don't have that capacity to trust the person with your messaging, then you're probably not going to be ready to, like, let go and let this person do the things and experiment and help you get to where you want to go. So there is, like, it works both ways, right? And I think when I sat in that room, I remember the CEO, I had compliance, the head of compliance, I had a lot of, like, serious people. And I just remember going, like, yeah, like, so you can just let me go. I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? But I'm pretty confident that this is going to be okay. And I still remember, after all the events happened, the CEO came over and he's like, so, like, Monica, like, why did it work so well? Like, we didn't get it. And I was just like, it went right over their heads. Like, they couldn't connect that they were being of service to their audience in a time of need, rather than just talking about themselves, right? And so, and then, but again, for them not to see it is very normal, because you're the business, right? Like, that's my job. I'm supposed to see it, right? And that's why I say it takes trust, and it doesn't always come. So it's not it's not a bad thing. It happens to the best of people, like big organizations to small, like, business owners. Yeah.
Very well said. Gonna take another quick moment here to do another plug, because so I can get really lost in the conversation and forget to do that. So we're speaking with Monica Kapil, who's the founder of Nori Marketing, at Nori Marketing on Instagram. I'm not sure if you're on a lot of these days. A lot of businesses and a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of just on like one or two platforms, but I know that's on Instagram at least. And again, for myself, LaceyArtemis.com, at LaceyArtemis on social media. I am no longer on Twitter/X. I left there last year because it just got too negative and I didn't want to support Elon anymore. And just another quick little reminder, I'm helping and doing event support for Leader Bloom, a team building workshop for young professionals, July 15th at CSI Spadina. Tickets on Eventbrite. And I guess I'll do the shorter one here this time. And also have the Your Shine Language newsletter and community, which, okay, I thought I got the URL wrong. I didn't. It's bit.ly/Shine Language that you can go and sign up for that. And there'll be a new issue coming out in the next few days, hopefully. So yeah, the last thing I want to sort of talk about to, I guess, take us out, and I feel like this is kind of fitting actually, because we had the conversation that we had where the just for the heck of it came was I was at that time I was embroiled in a period of extreme chronic fatigue like I have never experienced before. And I will admit I was genuinely worried that like I was never going to be able to work again, that my life as I had known it was going to be over. And that's obviously a really difficult thing to, especially because I've been like putting so much energy this year into building this new career, and it's been showing really promising signs of progress. And so just all of a sudden that my energy crashed, and for 2 weeks I couldn't do anything. And it was scary, and I had people kind of talking to me, and I kind of had to like, because I have friends who have like long COVID, or they have CFS or what is it? Myoendocarditis? So, yeah, I think myoendocarditis is what it is, and that's one of the conditions that can result from long COVID. So I know people who have become chronically ill long term and they can't work anymore, and I've heard what their experience is like. So it was really scary, and we were talking about that, and we talked about the whole idea of burnout and how you're like, Lacey, you push yourself way too hard. Like, trust me, like I've been there. Like we had a really heart to heart about it, and I really appreciated it. And it, from that, and one of the last things I think you said in that conversation got me thinking of somebody else that I know who is also pushes themselves way, way too hard. And I just like, wow, like now that I've kind of been on the other side of it, even if it was only temporary, I didn't know that at the time, because the fact that it persisted for as long as it did was, I've never had that before. I've had COVID before. It did not knock me out that hard that long. But anyways, it got me thinking, and I just did a talk at a virtual conference last week about burnout. That there's we all work too hard, we all work too much. It's kind of a necessity at this point in the world, especially if you're, not able to pool your finances with somebody. I'm talking a lot. I realize I'm talking for like 4 minutes straight now. But we talked about the idea of burnout and like how to kind of pace yourself better and like why that's so important, because it could come to be that if you push too hard and you crash, you might not recover. And a lot of like my strategy had been like, well, I just got to get to a certain point that I'm like set, and then I can rest then. But that was not the best way to go. So now that I've talked for like 5 minutes, I'll give you a chance to respond to this. What would you like to say to the audience about your kind of thoughts and maybe any advice about burnout and chronic fatigue?
Oh, I think you just cut out at the very end. What would you like to say to the audience? And then I missed it.
Oh, so yeah, sorry. There's a bit of a. I said, what advice or feedback would you like to give, if any, in regards to either burnout or chronic fatigue or both?
So I had my like wake up with burnout in March. So literally me talking to you is like I just woke up from that incessant thought that I'm never doing enough and that I have to do more and more and more in March. And it was a wake up call because I was hitting like burnout throughout. And then in December, January, 2 months, it took me to kind of recover. But I didn't even know it was burnout, by the way. Like I just thought I was just not functioning and I couldn't put it together. I was looking at my to-do list and nothing was happening. What I was doing was cleaning up my inboxes, like doing all the little things because my brain didn't have capacity to do big things. And I didn't know. And then in March, I was lucky enough to get some therapy that was subsidized. And in the process of me going in to talk about things, I just mentioned, oh, I hit a wall and I don't know what happened. And I was going into my next burnout right when I hit therapy. And as soon as she looked at me, she just gave me a look like, you're burning out. Like, and I was just looking at her like, I'm just tired. Like and then she realized how deep it went. And she's like, when you hit these moments and you realize you can't do anything, don't you feel like you might hurt yourself and you might like things will get really bad? And I said, oh, I've had thoughts that I might die. And then she's like, well, what do you say to yourself in these moments? And I said, well, isn't it a valiant thing to go out like dying while working so hard? And she realized in that moment that I needed some serious like mental reprogramming. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, you have been pulled into this hustle society, like cultural belief so deeply that you thought it was valiant to die while working really hard. And I'm like, yeah. And we started there, and I'm talking 6 weeks of like deep work before I realized that not only is there a lot of like things that we have to move through society and the way we believe or how we have to work and where we find our value and all of that good stuff. But then I also realized the next piece was not just balancing that, but was like, where was the joy in my life? Where was the just for the heck of it moments? So maybe that's where that came from, right? Because, she said, Monica, it's not enough just to like balance out like doing work. She's like, don't you want to get up? You got to get up out of bed excited to do stuff for yourself, not just your job. And I remember rolling my eyes at her so hard that she was just like, it's true. You can't just get out of burnout by just balancing work. You got to do stuff that makes you happy. And honestly, the more I actually put it into practice, the more I had to admit that, she was right. Like every time I did things for myself and I felt good, I had more energy to give to the business. And when I was able to really balance out the things that are important in my life, everything just felt better. I showed up better. I was able to like think more clearly. And so it's not at all like in a perfect place. It's constantly evolving because certain times you're busier, certain times you have more leeway to do other things. So you have to like evolve with your, with your business and what it needs. So it's always like you're constantly trying to balance things with yourself. But all I know is I go by the energy and the feeling, same with the projects that I take on. If I feel excited, I know that's a sign that this is somebody I'm going to work with. If I get excited to go eat pancakes on Canada Day tomorrow, which I'm going to get excited about, I'm going to go eat pancakes. So it's just that I think burnout is something you just have to be really aware of, that it can happen at any turn, and it can happen out of excitement too, that you just love what you're doing, but you just have to really take time to pace yourself. And I'm doing that exact thing right now. I got a big project and I'm literally spending this week pacing out how I'm going to break it into little pieces so I don't have to overwhelm myself, and give myself the weekends to do things like make really ugly art, as I call it, and all the other fun things I like doing, right? So yeah, it's a work in progress always.
Yeah, no, that's I think the key thing that you said in there, and that ties back into the shine language concept of like, what do you do that gets you excited and it like lights you up? And it's I keep coming back to this for myself, and it's still, even though it's been several years now, like I used to be definitively an introvert. I liked talking to people, I loved connecting, but I did not want to be talking to people nearly as much as I do these days. And I've been noticing, because I mean, I have a roommate, but like we're not, like, we don't talk like every day. It's kind of more like a bit more incidental, but so I kind of live alone technically, or more, it's more like that. And because I'm like a one person business and I'm self-employed and I like work from home, like I'm by myself kind of mentally grinding a lot, and I don't live close to downtown anymore, so it's not really easy to go and like get social connection. And I keep noticing that like I feel like really tired and crappy, and sometimes it's because I like not eating the best or whatever, but like sometimes literally I will hop on a call with somebody, and the way I keep describing is like I come back to life, because like I go from just being like I feel like I'm sick, or I feel like I'm not right, and then I connect with somebody. It's like, oh yeah, this is what being a human is like. And it just like, and that's why I've been away from the podcast for sort of circumstances beyond my control. But like I was like, oh, I'm finally gonna get to do it again, and I get to talk to people that I really like talking to, and sharing information that I know is important and valuable and will help people. And that makes me excited. And so you might think, well, yes, this is still work in a sense, but it doesn't feel the same to me as like if I was going into like an office and like pushing paper and that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I totally makes sense.
Yeah. Well, we're about the 45-minute mark here, and I'm trying to keep these to not get super long. So I guess if there's any final thoughts that you want to offer here, I will give you the floor.
Yeah, and I'm just going to talk from something that happened recently. Somebody I'd met through an event came to me and said, Monica, I think I need your services. I need help with my marketing. And she had yet to figure out who she was even going to, like who her audience was going to be. She was still figuring out who her services were really for. And I kind of stopped her in her tracks, and I was like, you don't need like the whole marketing. Like she's like, I need a website. I need to look like fancy. I need photos of me, and I was just like, it's okay, breathe. Like you're just freaking out a little bit. But when you're in that space of like a little bit of the unknown, where you're still trying to figure out who you're going to talk to, like she was like, I might talk to like this group or that group, but I'm not sure where my services are going to fit best. I was like, you have a lot of experimenting to do first to really kind of connect those dots. And I kind of pushed her to realize that like doing that and then just having some quick maybe check-in calls with somebody who can help you with your marketing would probably be more beneficial than, like you said, creating a whole website, like you said, and then putting everything down. And literally 3 months from then, the messaging is all going to change. Like, what's the value in spending so much money up front and then having to continue to like transform that website over and over? Like, start with a GoDaddy that's easy to like update and just keep going. And when you feel like, okay, I have my dream clients that are coming to me now's maybe the time to spend the money and get somebody fancy schmancy up your site or whatever it is that you're working on marketing wise, right? And so, I think a lot of people sometimes look at me and think, oh, I can fix their business in some sense. But you really have to get clear on things before a marketing person can really bring the value add sometimes. Because if you're confused, the marketing is also going to be still in that trial and error phase, of trying different things for different audiences. So yeah, just know when to call in support. And sometimes it's a lot easier just to join like a group, like a marketing support, like a group that meets on a monthly, where you can just ask those key questions so you can keep moving forward until you hit that aha moment of, I know what I'm doing, right? And I especially think that's true for like, business owners that are in that early stage.
Yeah, from my recent experience of working with an agent and getting some more kind of feedback from people that specialize in marketing, it's something I've come to feel like that it's for people like me. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you sort of feel like me, where you're like very kind of protective of like what your brand, like what you do and like how it's communicated, like my advice to you, because this is where I'm at now, is you do what you do, but you might not be the best person to connect it to your dream customers, or your dream clients. So I recommend to outsource isn't the right word, like to delegate that to someone who specializes in that, because you'll save yourself some headache and you'll get better results. And that's a lesson that's been kind of hard for me to learn, but I've seen the difference now. So thank you so much, Monica. This has been a pleasure, and I'm just gonna again put your info back up on the screen here. And yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah, I don't have this is this was good. I was just trying to like check my notes again. Like, no, we covered everything. So yeah, thank you. And stay tuned for more hat collecting. There will be more episodes coming this month. I have a special secret project that I've been planning for that I'm excited to reveal soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and keep those hats coming, I guess. All right.
Thanks,
Whoops,
Lacey.
that didn't do it.